What's going on, everyone? Episode 82 of VYPE Locker Talk Live. On today's show, we are going to talk about the Texas high school football playoffs. The by-district round is here. And me and Jackson are going to break down some of the games that are happening, maybe make some predictions about who we think is going to go all the way. But before we do that, I'd like to bring in Jackson just to see how you're doing. Jackson, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Had a late media day last night at Episcopal. Got done there at about 8:40. Got home at about 9:30, and it's just been a busy week, a busy past month with media days. But now it's playoffs time. It's the time of the year that everyone loves. Texas high school football is playoffs are back, and that's what we're all about. That's what we love to see. So very excited.
And not only them, but you'll have the regional semis and finals this weekend for volleyball. Some teams in our areas I know are still fighting for those spots. So, got to show a little love to them as well. But with that being said, let's talk about Texas high school football here, Jackson. And I guess the first question, I guess, I don't know, let's not make predictions yet. Let's not say who we think is going to win it all. But what are some of these games in the by-district round that you're really going to have your eye on this week? Let's start in the 6A level and kind of work our way down. What are some of those matchups across the state that you see that are like, okay, these could potentially be upsets? I'm thinking for me, Steele versus Johnson comes to mind. That is not easy out for Steele, though they should move on. But what are some of those games for you, Jackson, that kind of really stand out to you in the 6A level?
Yeah, I think there's two games for me I'm looking at, specifically in the Houston area. You've got Ridgepoint, who's 8-2, one district in that FBISD district, and then you've got Tompkins, who's at 8-2. Both had really great years. Obviously, Tompkins plays in that KDISD district, which is really tough. It's equivalent to the SEC West. They just knock each other out, throw punches. You see different teams losing different teams, except for basically Katy, who won the district undefeated this year. But I think this matchup between Ridgepoint and Tompkins is very interesting, a little similar to how the Woodlands and Spring have played each other the past 2 years. It's two great football teams who had great seasons that one of them is going to get knocked out after round one, and it's kind of crazy to see that. So I think this is definitely a game I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And then also in Region 3 is you've got Deer Park versus Atascocita. Deer Park is 9-1 this year, had a really great regular season. Then you've got Atascocita, whose only losses are by 7 to Katy and by 3 or 4 to North Shore. and those are the two top teams in the Houston area. So I think this is a really cool matchup. It'll be definitely one to watch. It'll be at Deer Park, so very excited to see how those two games play out specifically in Region 3.
Let's break down Division One. Let's kind of do that. Let's talk about by district in each kind of classification, and then talk about each division and see what we think. So, looking now, you talk about the by district and some of those games, but let's look at this bracket now, and at the 6A level for Division One 6A. What are we thinking as far as who's making the potential regional finals and then the champion, or I guess the state semifinals, I should say, and then the championship? I feel like if you look at the bracket for me, I think Region 2 and Region 4 are a little bit easier to pick. I think Duncanville and Westlake, barring any upsets, they should find themselves in the state semis. Don't you think, Jackson?
Yeah, I think those are two that are kind of a little easier to pick. I would say watch out for this lower half of Region 2. I feel like Westfield has always had to run into a team like DeSoto the past 2 years in that kind of third round matchup. But now this year in Division 1, Region 2, the lower half of the bracket, Westfield, it's kind of open for Westfield this year, who has been a really great team that just couldn't get over the hump of beating DeSoto. I mean, you've got Waxahachie, you got Temple and Rockwall and Saxe there, but Westfield could easily make this regional final game and play Duncanville, and it could get really interesting. Quarterback Preston Hatter has been playing really well right now, but I know that Duncanville team has been absolutely loaded, just blowing out teams. So Region 2 is kind of interesting. I definitely favorite Duncanville. I think that they would win this, but watch out for Westfield and maybe a team coming out of that lower half of Region 2. Region 4, it's Westlake. Obviously, looking at that side of the bracket, I think Westlake's got it. I think you're going to see Westlake make it to that state championship game if things play out the way they want it to. So it's going to get really interesting seeing how the rest, Region 2 and Region 3, play out.
About Region 1 and Region 3 now, I mean, kind of seems like Allen's had a little bit of a down year. South Lake Carroll, I believe, is in Division 2, so they're not on there. They were able to get into Division 2, lucky for them. It kind of seems like it's kind of lining up for Prosper there, maybe like a North Crowley or something like that. And then in Region 3, is it really going to come down to, I got the wrong graphic there. Sorry about that. There we go. That's a little better. Is it going to come down to a Atascocita and North Shore? Is is Bailey really out for the season? All this kind of stuff. I mean, it's hard to beat a good team twice. North Shore beat Atascocita. Can they do it again? What do you think there on Region 3, Jackson?
Yeah, Region 3, I think this is probably – I'll say if North Shore makes it to the state game, they worked really hard this year. I feel like in the past, North Shore has really just kind of flexed their muscles and stuff, but they're down their quarterback. But David Amador has been a stud since he's come into this quarterback role for them. He's got that offense moving. They won a tight game against Atascocita. I don't see them having really any issues except maybe a team like Cy-Fair or Cinco Ranch, depending on how that plays out, could maybe see some issues. So, but I think North Shore is making it to that regional final, and I think if they're playing a team like Atascocita or a team like Ridgepoint or Tompkins, you could see a really tight game, and maybe for the first time you see North Shore not make it to that state semifinal game, which would be, I feel like, the upset of the year for sure. So I think it's going to be really interesting with Caleb Bailey being out for the season. That North Shore team the rest of the team has really stepped up. They're playing hungry. That defense, that secondary is absolutely loaded. We haven't really given them a nickname. I'm giving them the nickname Death Row. They just, you're not passing the ball on them. And if you try to pass the ball on them, you might as well just go ahead and get it back on the bus. But that team has been really good, and I think that North Shore is going to continue their dominance to get to that regional final game, and then from there we'll see what happens, in my personal opinion.
All right, and now prediction time. Who's making the state championship game in this bracket, Jackson, and who is winning it all?
Remind me, Region 1 plays Region 4 and Region 2 plays Region 3 in the semis. Or how does the
No,
semis?
it's
Is
Region
it
1
1 and
versus
2?
Region 2, Region 3 versus Region 4.
Okay, I'll give my kind of Final Four first, and then I think the Final Four, I think you're going to see Prosper. I think you're going to see Duncanville, Westlake, and then you're going to see North Shore. And I think that you're going to see Duncanville, Westlake National Championship. Or, sorry, State Championship game,
And
which
who's
could
winning
be
it
a
all?
national championship too.
And who you got winning it all? Is Duncanville finally going to get over that hump, or is Westlake getting that a four-peat?
I have to go. You know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going Westlake gets the four-peat and shows that, without Cade Klubnik, they're still a really great football team. So I think Westlake wins their fourth in a row.
Yeah, that one's definitely, I think, one of the tougher ones to pick. I'm also going Westlake and Duncanville in the championship game there. And man, that you think, okay, well, Duncanville has they finally don't have to play North Shore, right? North Shore has always kind of been their bugaboo in the state championship game. So it's like, oh well, we don't have to face them anymore, so we're gonna win. But hey, guess what? You don't have North Shore, but you had the 3-time defending state champions going for a four-peat. Yes, their offense isn't humming as it was last year with an offense that might have been one of the all-time great offenses with Cade Klubnik, behind center. But they got that great offensive line. They've got a great defensive line. I mean, their defense has kept them in games this year. I mean, I said it. That dripping screens game was 16-10 in the fourth quarter, but the defense kept them in that game. The defense is going to be able to keep them in games if their offense is struggling. Man, this is a toss-up as well. I feel like I should go Duncanville just because you went Westlake in this situation. This really could be a toss-up game. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go Duncanville. Duncanville going to get over the hump, end Westlake's reign, which would, I think, at that point be 56 wins, going into that state championship game. So I'm going to be a little different here. I'm just going to go Duncanville to get that state championship dub. Let us move now to the Division II bracket of 6A. Let me pull it up on my end here. There was a 6. Yeah, there we go. Division II. So again, let's look at this week's games first. Let's see if there's any that stand out to you, and then let's make our predictions. So I'll go first here. Let me put the camera on me here. Just looking at, I think there's a good one in Bowie and Vandergrift. That's no easy out for Vandergrift right there. And then I'm looking around, just browsing the brackets real quick. I don't see any for the most part that are really like standing out to me that are like this team could be in trouble in week one. Of course, it always happens, but I think the one that might that could be a little closer is Bowie and Vandergrift, but Vandergrift could be rolling. They've been rolling the last few weeks. So, what do you see in the bracket that might stand out to you, Jackson?
Yeah, I'm not really seeing a lot of games where I'm like, man, this is going to be a really close game, really tight game in that first round. I think the one that could, I might pick an upset in this one. I might say Morton Ranch, who just barely made the playoffs in that KDISD district off a awesome win against Katie Jordan to secure that fourth spot. I think that matchup against Hightower is going to be a very good game. I think that a team like Morton Ranch, who's coming off that getting into the playoffs feeling, playing hungry, I think that a team like Morton Ranch could really win that and come out moving on to that second round there. But other than that, really, I mean, there's not really maybe Channelview CE King could be an interesting game. CE Kings or Channelview's had their best year, even since they've had Jalen Hurts. This is their best season they've had. They won district for at least the first time in what I looked up since before 2004. So, I mean, this is a really good Channelview team. We'll see how far they can go playing CE King in the first round. But other than that, I'm looking at these matchups, not really seeing anything too big. I do see in Region 2, I mean, you could see DeSoto easily make that state game with their side of the bracket, but they might run into a New Caney team who's been scary this year and shocked a lot of people in the Houston area. And then you've got Decaney and Oak Ridge down in that lower half who could make a run too. So I think that for the most part, I think that regions 1, 3, and 4, you know who's going to make it out of those regions. And I think that region 3 is going to be the one that, or region 2 is going to be the one that you have to wait and see who's going to come out of that one.
I don't know. I think 1 through 3 is a little more kind of solid, if you will. I think Denton Guy is going to come out of Region 1. I think DeSoto will come out of Region 2, and I think Katie's going to come out of Region 3. I think those are almost gimmies, if you ask me. And then Region 4, to me, is where it could be a toss-up. I think there's two teams, if you look at Region 4, that I think have the best shot at getting it. I think that's Vandergrift. I think that's Dripping Springs. And we know what happened in week one. Dripping Springs won on a last-second field goal. But that was week one. I think Vandergrift has vastly improved since week one. I mean, you go and look at their games. I mean, they are blowing teams out. But then on the other side, you have Dripping Springs. Yes, they've lost later in the year, but that was to Westlake. And again, just as I said a few minutes ago, that was a 16-10 game heading into the fourth quarter. Dripping Springs, if there's a year that Dripping Springs can make a run, it's funny saying this because this is their first year in 6A, but if there's a year that they can make a run to state, it's this year behind the arm of Austin Novosad. So that being said, I'm going to make my predictions now. You got Region 1, Denton Guyer, Region 2, DeSoto, Region 3, Katy, Region 4, Dripping Springs. Now this is where it gets tough. I think Denton Guyer gets there again. And then it's like, does Katy finally get stopped? They've had a couple of close games here and there, but if you can't stop their running game, they're gonna walk all over you, right? But I'm gonna go with a little bit of upset here. I'm gonna say it's Denton Guyer versus. Ooh, this one's tough. Dripping Springs. Let's do it. Dripping Springs. It's hard to beat a tough team twice, but I think Dripping Springs can do it. And in the state championship game, I'm gonna go. Dripping Springs. Give me the Austin team, baby. Let's do it. Dripping Springs winning it all. Let's do it. Denton Guyer can't get over the hump again. I'm going a little bit on the edge here. I think Denton Guyer could easily win this. But, going for the shock factor here. Let's go Dripping Springs to win it all. Jackson, what are your predictions?
I mean, I'm shocked. I thought you were going to give it to Denton Guyer. They've been so close, but I think that's a good pick too. I think it is going to be DeSoto. It's going to be DeSoto, Guyer. I think you're going to see Katy. Actually, you know what? Here's my upset. Katy loses the Shadow Creek in the third round to get bounced. Shadow Creek makes the state game. That's my upset.
That's definitely an upset.
But Shadow Creek is 10-0, and they've played a really good year so far, and they've looked really good on defense, which is what you got to do to beat a team like Katy is have a really good defense. So I like what Shadow Creek has done, and I think Shadow Creek makes that state semi game, and I think that they do play Dripping Springs in that semi game. I think that you're going to see a matchup between DeSoto. Actually, no. I think you're going to see a matchup against Guyer and Shadow Creek, and Guyer wins their first state championship with Jackson Arnold at the helm, who has been there so close two times in the past 3 years. So I think that Jackson Arnold and Denton Guyer get it done, and they win that state championship game.
And just to clarify, Jackson's not saying it's Denton Guyer's first state title. It's the first state title with Jackson Arnold at quarterback is what he's saying. I'm right there. So I just wanted to clear that up. All right, that's good. I like that. Like I said, I think Denton Guyer can easily win that. But, going for some shock value on my end. Let's now go to 5A Division 1, where I think let's talk about the bi-district rounds first. If we see any games here that could be potential upsets. I think Wagner has a good chance to beat College Station. I mean, College Station is not the world beaters that they were in the past, so I think Wagner could potentially pull off an upset there. New Braunfels Canyon and Georgetown, that's going to be a great game in Region 3 right there. What a way to start off round one there, which, by the way, that reminds me, New Braunfels also in 6A Division 1 does not have an easy out. They're the 2 seed there, but they do not have an easy out. They could easily lose. So just wanted to bring that up. But not an easy out for either team. I mean, both those teams are really good this year. Moving on down the bracket, that's what I see. Jackson, do you see anything in the bi-district round that stands out to you?
My sleeper pick in this bracket, looking at it, is Region 2, looking at that Longview Crosby game. Now, Longview's 10-0, undefeated, has had a terrific year. Crosby, on the other hand, has got secured that fourth spot, moved into a new district this year, had to play some tough games, and has played in some tough overtime win games, some overtime loss games. So they've had that kind of playoff atmosphere experience, maybe not pulling it out all the time. I think that this is an interesting game because that Crosby team has that deep playoff run experience. I think that this could be a sleeper matchup, one to watch. I think it could be a close game, and I think you could see an upset there in Region 2. But as of now, if I had to put anything on it, I'd definitely say Longview would be the one to win that game, but I think that's a sleeper pick to watch out for. Also, I believe Port Arthur Memorial and McKinney McKinney North might be a matchup to watch. Port Arthur Memorial had a really good year this season, so that would be another one I'm watching out for. And then looking at Region 3, Galveston Ball versus Magnolia West. Now, Galveston Ball is an undefeated team. They blew out pretty much everyone in their district. I think when you look at just the records of the brackets, I think you're like, oh, Galveston Ball has a good shot to make it to that regional final, make it to that state game. But I think Magnolia West upsets them in that round one game and kind of just shocks a little bit of people and shows that Mag West is still the same team they've kind of been the past couple of years. They just had a couple more losses this regular season.
Well, let's stick with you right now and let's get your predictions in Division 1. Who you got winning it all here?
Man. I'm going to say that Denton Ryan makes it out of Region 1.
No.
I think.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, if I'm wrong there, let me know. But I think that's right. I think that's the right Ryan it has there.
You are.
I think it's okay. I think it's Denton Ryan, Longview, and then I think it's. Man, this one's harder to pick. I think that it is. Man, McAllen. And I think you see. I'm gonna say that Fulsher makes it to the state Final Four this year. I think Fulsher's had a really good season this year. I really like what they're doing, so I'm gonna pick Fulsher to make that state championship game, playing up against Longview, and I think that Fulsher wins a state title this year.
Wow. All right. Well, I think it's going to be Aledo coming out of Region 1. I think Longview will come out of Region 2. Region 3, I'm going to go with Smithson Valley. They were a 6A program last year, now moving down to 5A, and they look great. And there's a year that, a San Antonio team could make the state championship. Smithson Valley has a really good shot. And I'm going to go PSJA North for Region 4. They've had a really good year this year. And then I'm going to go Longview and Smithson Valley, the state championship game. And I got to go with Longview here. They've had such a great year. Don't know if they're going to be stopped. They've looked dominant in every aspect of the game. And as much as I love Smithson Valley, and I love to pick, the hometown area, if you will, got to go with Longview. I think the Lobos are going to get their second title in, I think it's 4 years. So as we know, Haynes King, the last quarterback to bring home the state title for the Lobos. Let's move on to Division 2 and 5A now. I think this one's going to be the most interesting when you look at the teams that could potentially make the state championship game. But looking at, let me put us both here on the screen here. Looking at by district, do you see any games that stand out to you that are like, these are games to watch in the by district round?
I mean, just looking at it off the bat, I'm not really seeing anything that would concern me right now. I think that, I think this or P&G Montgomery game could be really good. Even though Montgomery's had a down year, they've played a lot of teams tight. They were able to make the playoffs. That could be an interesting game potentially. I think P&G wins it though. Other than that, I mean, looking at the schedule, there's not any that really stand out to me as of right now.
I think one game I'm just paying attention to from a history aspect is, I believe if Lockhart wins their bi-district round game against SA Burbank, they will have won the most games in program history, which I believe is 8 games or 9. Let me check here to make sure I'm not getting the record wrong here. So they are currently 7, yeah, so 8 games. So that's crazy to think of that in the program, 8 games would be a record. So paying attention to that game just from that aspect, but I think pretty chalky for the most part when you look at all these other games. So let's go prediction time now. I think for me, let's go regions, by region. Region 1, I think Argyle's going to get it. I think region 2 will be South Oak Cliff. I think they're finding their rhythm right now. Question's going to be, can they win it all? I think they have enough to get there, but will they have enough to win it all? I think Region 3 is Fort Bend Marshall. They had that little stumble against Crosby earlier in the year, but they look pretty solid. And I think they've had a tougher regular season than they usually have, which I think is going to help them out in the playoffs. Right? Usually, the last couple of years they've just steamrolled everyone, and they get to the playoffs and they struggle because they haven't had to play anyone. And then Region 4, I'm going to go. I think it's either down to Alamo Heights or Liberty Hill. I'm going to go Liberty Hill. I've been riding them all year. I love what they're doing. And I think in the state championship game, give me South Oak Cliff. Give me Liberty Hill. Let's have a rematch, baby. Let's have a rematch. And, I'm going to go for the Austin side here. Last year was the feel-good story with South Oak Cliff, getting that championship. I think Liberty Hill is going to come in and get that revenge and get their first state title since 2007. Give me Liberty Hill. Who do you have, Jackson?
Yeah, in Region 1, I'm going Argyle. Region 2, I am going South Oak Cliff for sure. Region 3, I'm actually going to pick against Fort Bend Marshall. I'm going to pick Lake Creek. They're undefeated right now. They've had a really great year. They play in a really, really tough district. Or actually, sorry. Lake Creek has just looked dominant all year to me. I've gotten to see them in person. I've gotten to see Fort Bend Marshall in person. I think that Lake Creek offense is really good, and I think that defense is really nasty. I think they're a really good defense. So I think,
that's
in
not a
my
bad
opinion,
pick. That's not a bad pick.
Okay. I think Lake Creek makes it out of the Region 3, and then I think that in Region 4, I'd go Liberty Hill as well. I think that out of Region 1 and Region 3, I think that you see South Oak Cliff make that state game again after they had some hiccups at the beginning of the season. And then, I want to pick the brain part of me wants to pick that Liberty Hill team to go in and go get that state title this year. I think they've got the team to do it. So I'll say my head's thinking Liberty Hill, but my heart wants Lake Creek to win it. I know one of the coaches over there really well. I want them to go make that state title game, and then I'll pick the Region 3, Region 4 side to win the state title game this year. So Liberty Hill or Lake Creek will be my state titles this year.
The one thing that's always hard about Liberty Hill is if you haven't played a team like that all year, it's hard to get ready for them. And so that could definitely help them out and be hurtful if South Oak Cliff has played them once now, so they're going to be a little familiar with that. But we move on to 4A D1 now. Let me find my bracket here. There we go. 4A D1. Any games this week, Jackson, that kind of stand out to you? I know 4A and kind of down aren't necessarily the strong suits of the Houston area, because there's not a lot of 4A and 3A teams in the Houston area, but do you see anything that stands out to you when you look at these brackets that are like, okay, these could be good games this week?
Yeah, I'm not really seeing it, but there is a really cool second round matchup that could potentially happen in Region 3 that I really like. And that would be El Campo and Little Cypress Morrisville playing in that second round game, which is where actually last year you saw El Campo get bounced by LCM, and I believe the regional final or regional semifinal last year. So that could be an interesting round 2 matchup. But in regards to round 1, I'm not really seeing too much that stands out to me right now.
Yeah, I think for these last few brackets, we'll go over the 4A 3A. Let's just make our predictions here. So with that being said, then looking at the 4A bracket, who do you have in the semis and who you have winning it all? I'll go first on this one, give you a chance to kind of look at it. And I'm gonna go Brownwood in Region 1. China Spring in Region 2, I think that one's kind of a no-brainer. Chapel Hill in Region 3. And Region 4, this one has a couple of good options. I think Region 4, there's some good teams that can make it. You have Cal Allen, which I think they have a really good shot to go all the way. You have Bernie, who I've been high on all year, and then you have a first-year UIL school in Davenport, who has had a really great year with senior running back Shaston Golden in the backfield, who has just lit it up for the Wolves. I would love personally to see it in the regional finals, a Bernie versus Davenport matchup. I think that would be a great matchup to have. With that being said, I think Bernie comes out of Region 4. And I'm going to go China Spring versus Bernie in the state championship, but you got to give me China Spring here. I think China Spring is just too good, and I think they're going to win it all again. So give me China Spring in this. Who do you have, Jackson?
Yeah, remind me who you had in Region 1, because I'm going to follow you up on that one.
Brownwood.
I'm going to go Brownwood in Region 1. I'm going to go China Springs. They had a great year last year. They're having a great season this year. I'm going China Springs. I think, man, this Region 3 one is one. I would love to pick El Campo, see El Campo get back on top behind running back Ruben Owens. But I have to go with Chapel Hill. They've had a really good year. One of the Coach Reeves, who's there from New Caney, he's really like what they're doing over there. So I'm going to go Chapel Hill. Then I'm going to go Bernie as well. They've been in my pick'em the past couple of weeks for our Austin San Antonio pick'em. But I'm going to go Chapel Hill, China Springs, and I think Chapel Hill wins this one.
Which, by the way, I think Merle, I'll have to tally that up for you. I think Merle ended up winning that. In the last week, I went just way out of left. I picked a lot of games that just differently to try and catch up, and I was like 2 games away. I was Beeville beat Pleasanton, or Pleasanton beat Beeville in overtime. I had picked Beeville just because Merle had picked Pleasanton. And then Round Rock and Lake Travis just didn't play. There was some lightning delays and stuff like that, and they just canceled the game. So thanks for a lot, guys. Y'all ruined me catching up tomorrow. But there were a couple other games I could have picked that went a different way. But so with that being said, let's move on to 4A D2. This, of course, is the Carthage division, as they say. So with that being said, I'll go first here. And region 1, I got Hershey. They got close to making. Well, no, they did. I think they did make the semis last year, but then they lost to get into. I think they lost to Stephenville to make the state championship game. Then you have Carthage in Region 2. For me, Region 3. This one's tough. It's either Silsbee or Cuero. I'm gonna go Cuero in this one. Cuero's had a pretty good year. And then in Region 4, let me take a little look at it real quick. Region 4. Do I want to pick Wimberley? Is it going to be Wimberley? I think so. I think it's going to be Wimberley that makes that one. So you have, for me, you have Hershey, Carthage, Cuero, and Wimberley. And I think Carthage comes back. They were kind of silent last year, but I think Carthage is going to come back out on top and say, hey, don't forget about us. We're still here. We're still a Texas high school football power. And don't forget it. Jackson, who you got?
I'm going to go Hershey, Carthage. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go Silsbee there. I really like what the season Draylon Miller's having right now. He's really put that Silsbee team on his back. I like Silsbee in that one. And then I'm going to pick I'll pick Wimberley with you. I'll trust your gut there. But I'm going Silsbee, win state over Carthage this year behind Draylon Miller.
All right, and then let's move down to 3A. This one's we'll finish it off here real quick. Go ahead and pull up those brackets, and I'll go ahead and make my pick in 3A D1 real quick. So I think out of Region 1, I think Brock's going to come in there. You look at Brock's record, and you're like, well, Brock hasn't had a good year. They just played some tough opponents. They went way up in classifications in non-district, and I think that's going to pay off for them. Give me Malakoff in Region 2. Give me Franklin, defending state champion, Region 3. And give me Edna in Region 4. I like what Edna's doing. And then for the state championship game, give me Franklin to go back-to-back over Malakoff. Who you got, Jackson?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Brock in Region One as well. I'm going to go. I'm going to go Fairfield in Region Two. I'm going to go Franklin in Region Three, and then in Region Four, I'm going to go. I'll go Petit. Did I say that
No.
correctly?
Oh man, that's a big time. I'm gonna tell you now. That's a big time. That's my brother's. That's the team my brother coaches for. Do not think they're gonna make it that far. But hey, good for hey,
Okay,
you know.
hey, I can change the pick. I'm gonna go Edna. There's my team. All right, but I think that the winner ultimately for me is going to be. Sorry, I need to pull back up. Um, Hold on, people. These brackets are getting a little blurred for me. Oh, Franklin's going back to back. I really liked that Franklin team last year. Whenever we watched them on our kind of our live watch along, I really liked how Franklin looked. I think Franklin goes back to back. Really good team. They're going to continue that success this year.
Yeah, hey, I love my brother, but Poteet is not the move, as the kids say. I think they might have a chance to make a couple rounds. Let's see. I think they play Edna on round two. And if that were to happen, yeah, I don't see them getting out of round two there. Let's see if I'm right on that. Do they have a round two? Where yeah, no, they would not see them for a while actually. Yeah, they would not see them till the regional semis. So. But yeah, I think Edna's the move there. Edna or who am I thinking? Maybe Eleno. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. That's another team that could maybe get out of region four. But let's move on finally to our last region that we're going to talk about. That's region or Class 3 Division 2. I think in Region 1, I think I'm going to go Wall. Wall is one of those teams that they're always kind of right there. They made state championship. I think early in the 2010s kind of area. Region 2, give me Gunter. Region 3, give me Newton. And Region 4, give me Poth. Poth is one of those teams I talked about in my article this past week of the kind of the teams in the Austin San Antonio area that could make, like they've been kind of right there the last few years. They got upset 2 years ago when I think they had a good team to make a big run. And then they've kind of just always been right there. Last year, I think it was the regional finals against Franklin, but Franklin obviously moved up a classification, and now here they are again. So give me Poth in Region 4. Give me Poth to make it to the state championship game against Gunter, but give me Gunter to win it all. Sorry, Poth. I think Gunter is just too much for any team this year. Jackson, who do you have?
Oh, so I'm gonna go Wall, Gunter, and then I'm going in Region Three. I'm going to pick Newton, and Region Four. I'm gonna pick Taft. I think Taft wins that regional final, gets into that state semifinal game. But I think that for me, it's gonna be Gunter winning it all this year.
Well, there you go. Those are our picks. Can't wait to see how it all plays out starting in the high district round. Starting tonight. Games are happening tonight. Poteet plays tonight, so I'll let you know how your first draft went on that later tonight, Jackson. With that being said, let's get out of here. Who are you shouting out today, Jackson?
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out all the teams that made the playoffs that got first round matchups this week. Enjoy it. It's always a lot of fun. Seniors, enjoy every moment of it, whether it's a blowout, whether it's a close game, whether you win or lose. Always enjoy it. You never know when it's going to go away. Also want to send thoughts and prayers out to College Station right now. There's some crazy kind of terrible things happening there right now. I thoughts and prayers out to them. Thoughts and prayers out to the police department there. Hopefully they're able to catch the people that are doing some terrible things there right now. But other than that, just shout out all those teams that are playing this week, and shout out College Station. Hopefully things start to turn around there.
All right, and I am going to shout out, of course, all the teams playing in the My District round this week. I'm going to shout out the Marines. Marine Corps birthday is today, November 10th. I'm back in 1775 is when the Marines started, and here it is all these years later. I have myself, of course, I'm a Marine veteran, so gotta shout out all my brothers on our birthday together. So That being said, we'll be back next week with another edition of Walker Talk Live. We'll talk about some of these by-district games, maybe talk about some of the upsets, and we'll look ahead to the next round, to the area round. So, that being said, I'm Wac, and that's Jackson, and we'll see you at the games.